The Sports Source is brought to you by Fast Frame. Turn your memorabilia into a work of art.
This is The Sports Source, presented by Bill Hotz and Associates, and by Renewal by Andersen, with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into The Sports Source, presented by Renewal by Andersen. We have a big show today. SEC Media Days starts this week, starts tomorrow, and that means football is back. So we're going to talk a whole lot of Tennessee football on this show. We've even got VFL Will Overstreet back with us today to get his take on UT and some of the things moving forward. Full cast of characters, full show. Let's dive right in. First segment brought to you by Renewal by Andersen. You know, when it comes to windows and doors, there is no company in America that is better known than Renewal by Andersen. You know that name, you've heard it. The reason is they've got so many different choices. Picture windows, casement windows, double hung windows, patio doors, French doors, all top quality, all improve the look and value of your home, and all are energy efficient. Visit rbaknoxville.com or check out their showroom here in town to see for yourself why Renewal by Andersen is the brand for windows and doors, whether you're building a new home or replacing those in your existing home. We appreciate Renewal by Andersen for bringing you today's program. All right, want to welcome in the first round of panelists here. We got Josh Ward, Mike Strange, Ryan Callahan, Chuck Cavaleris. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Let's dive right in. SEC Media Days gets underway in Atlanta, not Hoover, Alabama. That's a switch. Jeremy Pruitt and Tennessee's players, Marquez Callaway, Eli Wolf, Kyle Phillips, those guys are scheduled to face the media on Wednesday afternoon. Let's start with this. How will Pruitt handle the press? I'll flip that question around in a second, but how will Pruitt deal with the media? Because what we've seen, there are times when he has been very buttoned up, very zip-lipped throughout spring. He really didn't say anything about anyone. He went weeks without talking about players. Then there are points during the summer, sometimes when he's talking to folks outside of town, he's opened up so much that, well, the Trey Smith thing, for example, you had people that were thinking, oh, he's so glowing about it that he must have been cleared. And UT had to quickly say, no, he's not cleared yet. So what do you think you're going to get from Jeremy Pruitt this week in Atlanta? Is it going to be open mouth, closed mouth, friendly mouth, mean mouth? What are we getting from Jeremy Pruitt?
Yeah, my guess, John, and it is a guess because of what you just said, we've seen different approaches, and this will be there will be local media in Atlanta, but there will be the regional and national media covering it. My guess is that Jeremy Pruitt takes a, hey, let's get in, let's get out approach. I think that will absolutely be the case with the players. I don't think you'll see any headlines coming from Tennessee's players, but I think being Wednesday in the middle of the week, there won't be a lot of hype around Tennessee this week. I think Tennessee will kind of come and go very quickly. They're also changing up the radio schedule, aren't they? They're closing down Radio Row on Wednesday at some point. I think for part of Thursday. So we'll be doing our shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, good deal. I wondered if everyone was, because they're closing it down a little earlier, I wondered if you were going to have some people that get out of town, which means less coverage. Well, the organization's different as well because it's in Atlanta. It's at the College Football Hall of Fame this year as opposed to Hoover, Alabama. Yeah, and the Radio Row is actually going to be in a separate building, isn't it? It's like it's in the Omni, and so you've got it's a little different setup than what they've done in the past. Gentlemen, what do you think you're going to get out of Jeremy Pruitt? Is he going to use this as a recruiting time? Is he going to try and say splashy things? Or is he just going to be, as Josh says, silent?
Well, I think that there's no correlation if you study history about how a coach performs at media days and how many games they win, so that's out of the equation. But I think probably Josh is on target here, but I think it's an opportunity. There's so much focus on this now, the way media days is, that he would be remiss if he didn't try to throw out a little recruiting pitch.
Especially when you're doing the SEC Network, ESPN stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder, you see that from some coaches as well. There's one facet, one face you get from them when they're talking to Feinbaum or whoever at the table, and then they get out in the main media room and it's a totally different ball game. So you may have two different Jeremy Pruitts as well. Guys, what do you think?
I think fairly closed lip. I don't think you're going to get an answer from him, for instance, on Trey Smith's status, on the quarterback battle, any of that stuff. His goal is to come in, leave, and give away basically nothing. So that's the main objective, I think. But beyond that, I think he'll be more comfortable than he was at first. He admitted, after National Signing Day, some of their Signing Day celebrations, that he's not very comfortable with that, or that's not his strength right now. But he said, hey, hang with me, I'll get better. So I think we'll see maybe a more comfortable Jeremy Pruitt, but just not one who's eager to reveal a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, I would think he's going to embrace it, and do it as quickly as he can, probably with a handkerchief and kind of wiping off some of the sweat. But you are in Atlanta, and look how important that area is to so many of these coaches, especially Tennessee. So I would think he would bring his A game and try and be spot on.
It'll be interesting to see, Alabama fans take over Hoover year after year after year. Atlanta is not a bad drive for Alabama fans, of course. You wonder if some more Tennessee fans might drive down for this thing. Again, it's a different setup, but it is at the College Football Hall of Fame. But I just wonder what the fan look is going to be, because when you watch that thing on the SEC Network, it's typically 10-1 Alabama fans standing there waiting to cheer. I will be interested to see if Jeremy Pruitt follows in the footsteps of Nick Saban, in that Saban is more than happy to talk about issues surrounding college sports. I don't know this. We haven't seen Pruitt in this setting, so I wonder if Pruitt's going to be a guy who talks about this rule or that rule, or says, I like this, I don't like that. Will the grad transfer thing, now that it's settled, will that come back up?
Yeah, a little. I think that could a little bit. Other issues, it's interesting. So far, he's kind of shied away from commenting much. When the gambling thing came up, he wanted nothing to do with that. There have been some issues. He said, I don't really know. I need to look into that. So he's still new to the head coach thing. I don't think he'll talk much on that, but the grad transfer thing will come up.
Let's flip it now. How will the media treat Jeremy Pruitt? Okay, the guy is not the master of grammar and syntax. I'm not either. He doesn't have to be. Danny Ford was never a Shakespearean actor, and he won a national championship at Clemson. Bum Phillips won a lot of games, and his vocabulary was a lot worse than Jeremy Pruitt's. But all right, for example, that plays here. When you take him down there with media from all over, some of those guys looking to stick in the knife a little bit, do you think the media is fair and fun with him, or do you think he could be in for a little ribbing if he doesn't conjugate his verbs properly?
I think his conjugation of verbs is one of the least interesting and important issues with Tennessee.
I agree, but
I think people will have a lot more fish to fry with Tennessee's status than that.
Okay.
I would tend to agree. I don't think it comes up very much, but I mean, sure, there's a lot more media there, so you're going to have a few of those people who kind of get into that kind of thing and have their fun. I don't think it becomes a big storyline or anything, though.
Well, don't you think it depends on what he says?
This is true.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of ammunition or what does he say, and how does that compare with what's going on and who's coming up next? I think it's going to be kind of interesting to follow and see what happens.
I wouldn't be shocked if I see a columnist out there who throws a dart. That's just me.
Yeah, there could be one or two that does. I'd say that it's not a big deal overall because, again, I don't think he's going to say much. So that's why I think partly it'll allow Tennessee to kind of come and go quickly on Wednesday. I think also the media is really just so reserved nationally on what's going to happen with Tennessee because there's the great unknown about Tennessee long term with what's going to happen with the program.
And I guess what I'm getting at is there are a lot of people who always reference Ed Orgeron's sound and the way he speaks. I could see somebody referencing Jeremy Pruitt.
Well, somebody will. Yeah,
feels like a Mike Bianchi column, maybe.
But that's exactly what I was thinking of. It was Mike Bianchi with the Orlando Sun. That's exactly what I was thinking of. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk to Will Overstreet about his thoughts on Jeremy Pruitt so far. We watched him go through spring. We've seen the recruiting. What's he think? What's he hearing from other VFLs? Is the Fulmer factor helping those guys buy in, or are they as jaded as some of the fan base? Just, okay, another new one. Alert me when they're winning. We'll talk to Will, see what he says. Come on back on the Sports Source.